Recording in progress. What up, Restoration Rebels? Andy McCabe here. We got Joe. We got Mike. We got Max. Max is you're just gonna move in, man. Just move in. Put your shit in the closet. Put your feet up on the couch and learn some shit. I like it, man. You're showing up. You're doing it. How you been, man?
I'm good. I got certified, man. I did some
Certified.
online classes and I got my WRT. So
nice. When's the ASD?
That I need to schedule because I actually do need to do like an in-house one for that. Only did online so far.
Okay. Good. Well, good, man. Congratulations. Welcome to the suck.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get it done. All right. So before we get going, this is February 9th, 2023. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable. We are recording, we are live in the group, and here's the rules. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claim process in detail to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an adjuster without also communicating with my client. Number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of that community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change we strive for. Speaking of community, I'm going down to the RIA networking event next week in Anaheim. Looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. Agreement number 4, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Boom, we're there. What up? All right, well, let's go around the table a little bit. Let's get Mitch Stringer in the room here. Mitch, come on down. Mike, how you been, man? What's new in your world? You're not muted, but your microphone's not picking up. All right. Well, we'll come back. We'll circle back. Just keep going, blah, blah, blah. And when we hear you, I'll tell you. Just start making noise. Max, what's new, man? You just got out of class, WRT. Where'd you take WRT at?
I took it online.
Oh, okay. Nice.
It was an online class, yeah.
Who was the teacher?
Anthony Ramos.
Okay. Anyone know Anthony Ramos? I'm going to open up the Facebook page here so we can keep an eye on that thread. All right. No, I don't think anyone's watching. So what'd you think? I mean, you're coming from completely outside the industry. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I studied the curriculum before class. I mean, I scored a 96%. So like I got it down as far as like graphing everything, measuring the temperatures, all of that. I just don't know how to work the equipment. So that's why I want to do that ASD. So that way actually can apply it, because I've never like operated it. My understanding was you just come in, throw those air movers in, set up the humidifiers, and you're good to go. But it's a little bit more than that, apparently. So apparently, yeah. But
good.
I'm learning it. So
nice. Well, I think I took WRT 3 times and ASD 2 times, but I came back from WRT the first time. I still didn't know how to start a truck mount. So there's a lot to learn in this industry. Yeah. So good. Today I got a little bee in my bonnet. I want to talk about this game that we're playing. So Joe, before I go deep into or climb up onto my soapbox, do you have any updates for us this week? Anything cool?
Not a whole lot. I mean, like I said, I shared my big ass job debt with everybody a couple of days ago so they could look at the ESX file and everything, and it turned out pretty damn nice. But my OCD still flaring on that, because like my support pillars in the middle of the buildings are not perfectly lined up with the underlay, the sub levels below it and all. But overall, I mean, it turned out really nice.
You know the number of circumstances where that actually makes a difference?
None.
But good on you, man. You got to have your thing. You got your thing.
Oh,
you're gonna dial it in.
like it drives me crazy when I sketch a second floor out and my exterior walls are not perfectly lined up, so they get the little hash marks on them that show that they're in line with the below level sketch. Like I am OCD as hell about my sketching. Like it drives me crazy. But no, outside that, I mean, finally settling down and taking it easy, and I got all my big Florida projects all had it right time and material into Xactimate, which was always fun. But
Ooh, why would you back time and material into Xactimate? What's the purpose of that? You mean you're taking the T&M and making it into an Xactimate?
Yeah, we ran some Florida jobs from the hurricane, some large losses we build them as time and material. And the partner company down in Florida that we're working with asked us to transpose them into Xactimate for whatever reason. So I had to take transfer of time material. I had to queue the data out of the time material and transport it over to Excel spreadsheets, and then do this and that to kind of merge all the common line items together so I can get a total count on them. To do it, takes, every line item I used was a user, defined line item, but it took me probably 2 hours.
So you didn't even, a lot of times what'll happen is we'll just throw the T&M out, keep it in reserve, keep the time cards and material receipts and everything in reserve. And then we'll rewrite the scope of the demo or drawing into a proper Xactimate.
Well, I did that for what I did on one of them. So one of them was no demo. It was literally just generators and equipment. And that was it. That's all we did out there. We didn't have anything to do with the demo. We just were there to help supply power and all. And that one there, I had to do it just a pure time and material transfer over.
Okay.
On one of them, they I did it 2 ways so they could have a choice on which way they liked it better. On one of them, I did the time material transfer over, and then I did all the line items we did, but I did them as I marked them all kind of like PWI, but I did them as T&M. So that way there they would have all the calculations and square footage amounts, but there was no value added to them, and
there was no value.
Yeah,
God,
and
seems like a lot of work.
And then the third way I did it was the way that FEMA wants it done, where I calculate how much
by the square foot.
Well, with FEMA, you can they'll pay equipment decom, but it has to be worked into the price of your rental. So I'd have to figure out how much rental equipment we had, and then figure out the calculation for the decon, and then I would take that decon number price, which is $1.20 per unit, and I'd increase the value of the DHU rental rate by $1.20. Extraction. It had to be worked into the carpet removal line item, things like that, and all. And that took a long time, but that's technically the way you're supposed to do it. If you want to get paid through FEMA, they'll pay for air scrubbers and generators, but you have to increase the prices. And the adjusters usually will lose their damn mind when they're like, I know that clean floor is only $1.20, and you got it set up as $3.40. And it's like, well, yeah, the hard surface extraction and the floor cleaning line items are combined into one line item. That's why it's $3.40. You'll pay for it. It's just working to the line item. And
yeah.
So we'll see.
What I like about FEMA is, the rules, the parameters, you understand they tell you these are the things. In order to get paid, these are the things you need to do. And that is completely opposite to regular insurance work, right? When's the last time you saw State Farm send out their billing guidelines? Have you ever seen billing guidelines from State Farm, Liberty Mutual, Safeco? No. Because
only if you're a TPA.
Exactly. If they can't do that, right? They can't legally, it's not in the policy where they can mandate pricing like that. It is in a FEMA policy. It is in a flood policy. You go by a flood policy, it says there, this is the rates. This is what we will pay. And it's just straightforward.
It's funny you should say that, because I actually spoke with my friend who's an Allstate adjuster, and we were talking about it, and she was like, Allstate guidelines say old drywall gets allowed one coat of paint drywall to be stained or sealed with 2 coats of paint. Like that's what the guidelines are. But she's like, in a fire job, you and me both know 1 coat of paint's not going to cut it. She's like, a lot of the other adjusters she's worked with, they don't understand. They're so inexperienced. She said most of the entire team of the moderate or the medium-sized claims handling it at all have less than a year of experience, and they don't understand. All you gotta do is put an F9 note. Due to heavy smoke, we need a charge for 2 coats of paint.
Right.
And
right.
F9
But
note,
these
and,
are
and the reviewer
these are claims guidelines passed down like old wives' tales from one generation to another verbally, because they're not written down anywhere. So I don't know if any of y'all out there have seen the Hunger Games series, right? You get society has devolved into this thing where 2 people from every city or whatever have to go fight to the death every year, and that's entertainment. And it hit me the other day when I was thinking about the fact that since there's no rules, no written rules, the carriers are able to move the goalposts on us. They're able to change the rules on us. And I was going back and I was thinking about Hunger Games. The better Katniss Abner or whatever her name was got at the game, the more she won at the game, or every time she won at the game, they changed the rules. Because all of a sudden, oh, shoot, the game's not to our advantage anymore. We're going to go ahead and change the rules. And that's that whole series of 3 movies was essentially, oh, you think this is shitty? Let's just get it even shittier. Let's, try even harder to ruin your guys' lives. And it's a perfect analogy to the game that we play every day with adjusters and carriers, trying to do the dance, trying to suss out what the rules are for this adjuster versus that adjuster, even though they work for the same freaking company, right? And my conclusion is the only real way to win at that game is to not fucking play the game. So as long as we subject ourselves to this game and these rules that we don't get to define and we can't even see because they're not written down anywhere, they're not published anywhere, as long as we show our willingness to play that game, we're going to be subject to those arbitrary, sometimes moving rules. So we have to choose to play a different game. And there's a lot of ways that we play the game as contractors, right? We send our estimates directly to the adjuster, right? That's playing the game. We actually entertain phone calls from Code Blue. I'm talking as an industry, obviously not Rebels here, where Code Blue says, well, I'm your review guy. And according to IRCRC, we have to cut your bill by half. Even taking that phone call, regardless of what we do with that information or whether we acquiesce or not, or negotiate back or not, the fact that we're taking the time to take the phone call, we are playing the game. We are subjecting ourselves to that game. So a lot of what has happened, or a lot of what we've pushed, especially in the last 4 years in this group, is just exhibit the willingness to take your ball and go home. Understand fundamentally who the client is at the end of the day. Who are you working for? Who do you have a contract with? Who do you have the leverage with? So along those lines, I'm going to share an email I got from an attorney friend of mine today. Let me pull it up. So it's talking about playing the game. Yeah, and one of these, I'm going to read this out loud, but I'm going to put it on the screen first. Where's my thing? Where's my thing? There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then we're down at the bottom. Let me move this thing over. Oh, crap. Oh, no. Where'd it go? There. Okay. Regarding timing of investigation. I do not know Oregon law, so I can't speak to that. I don't blame you. I'm in many jurisdictions, i.e., most of the country, the carrier is not on the clock for their investigation until a proof of loss is provided, or a functional equivalent of a proof of loss. And a clever trick by any carrier is for their policy to say that they don't want a proof of loss until 30 days or I think it's 60 days after they request it from the insured. And they never request it, and thus are never really on the statutory investigation deadlines clock. Let me paraphrase for you. Until a proof of loss is submitted, the carrier is not subject to any unfair claim practices timelines, because all those timelines start upon the submittal of a valid proof of loss. So I have conversations with PAs all the time, and even some PAs are like, they don't turn in a proof of loss. You know, if you've never seen a proof of loss form, go find one. Search proof of loss insurance in your state, and you're going to find the standard proof of loss form for your state. That form needs to be filled out. Once it is, and the carrier gets it, it's most states, it's 60 days. That starts a 60-day clock for them to deny or pay that claim. That is their options, right? If you don't submit the proof of loss, those two deadlines, that one deadline, it's either 30 or 60 days, depending on your state, doesn't exist. And then they can play the game on us until their heart's content. They can play the game on the insured until their heart is content. As long as we're playing by their rules, I mean, this is one of those rules that is published because it's in state law, right? It's not in an insurance policy somewhere. And I recommend highly that you look at you need to read through your state laws regarding insurance and the Unfair Claims Practices Act. Most of the states in this country have adopted some form or other of the Uniform Unfair Claims Practices Act. And so it's pretty standard across the board, but I invite you to read that. That talks about, it might do it there, it might talk about somewhere else, at least in Oregon, it talks about somewhere else in the statutes, that upon receipt of the state, of the proof of loss, the carrier has, I think it's 30 days in Oregon, 30 days to pay or deny the claim. And then it has all kinds of rules on what they are allowed to do when what they have to do in concurrence with that denial. It has to be written. It has to quote the reason for the denial, the location in the policy where that denial exists or exclusion exists, and all this stuff. But until we as an industry educate our clients enough that they need to submit a proof of loss. And what's that proof of loss? A proof of loss is a quantification of their total loss. What is the total loss? And that is your repair estimate 9 times out of 10, combined with maybe they lost some contents, maybe they had some other stuff happening. All that total goes into this, boom, I have a $500,000 loss. Here's my proof of loss. Pay me. And the clock is ticking. That is a one example of how, if we're going to choose to play the game, and at some level we have to play the game, right? But it doesn't mean we have to play by the rules that we can't quantify. So let's play the game, but let's use the rules that we can quantify to our fullest advantage. And the only rules we can quantify in this case are state and federal law when it comes to insurance claims. Has nothing to do with the repairs. Keep in mind, when we're talking about insurance claims, we're not talking about contracting. We're not talking about contract law. Well, we kind of are. It's contract law. I take that back, but it's not contracting, right? The International Building Code has no play in an insurance policy or insurance claim, except for the fact where it influences the scope or the expense, right? So I think I've talked in circles around that enough. We need. So there's a quote I pulled out of a book called The Game by the same gal that wrote The Hunger Games, but it's a different book. It says, when you master the game, they will change the rules. When you master the game, they will change the rules. So we have to play the game differently. We have to play a different game, or play the game differently. So yeah, I had any thoughts on that before I move to my next topic? I've got 2 to cover today. Mike, were you ever get your microphone working? Nope, doesn't look like it. Shoot. Okay. So I was on a call yesterday it was a roofing and estimating thing. Alina Wilson runs Estimate Mastery, and she had some webinar. It was good information. One of the guys on there, he said he's been speaking with carriers, very high level carriers, like C-suite, people at different carriers about, I forget what he was talking to them about. Obviously, he left an impression on me. But one of his comments he made was, these CEOs and these high level executives at these carriers, they truly believe that they want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing by the insured. They want to do the right thing by the insured public. And they truly believe that the policies that they're overseeing and everything else are fair, and they are built for the insured public, their theoretical clients. And that goes contrary to what I truly believe most of us have an experience with, is the boots on the ground, in the trenches claims environment is anything but fair. It is contentious. It is mental and physical warfare sometimes. It is the most backwards, unfair process you could ever come up with. And the deck is stacked so heavily against the insured, it's stupid. So how do we reconcile those two realities? Well, first off, how does a CEO of State Farm reconcile his belief that he's doing the right thing and his company is pure and good in their intentions and they're following that path with the reality that we see every day? Well, it comes down to cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance, if you don't understand it, if you don't know what it is what you feel when you act in a way that is not in congruence with your beliefs. You believe one thing, but you act in a very different way. That creates a cognitive dissonance, and it's painful. It's painful. It's sometimes can manifest in actual, just real stress. So in order to relieve that stress, in order to relieve the cognitive dissonance of, I believe this is a covered claim, but my manager says I should not deny it right now and wait for them to come back. Right? My manager says I should send this directly to appraisal without even looking at it really, because he just knows this contractor. It's bad news. That's not fair. So, but I don't believe it's fair. That goes against me as a human being. I don't think it is fair, but I'm going to do it. And the more times I do it, the more cognitive dissonance I feel, the more stress I feel. I have to something has to change. Either I change jobs, right? That is an option. I can change my job so I don't have to do these things that I don't believe in anymore. Or I can change my life, or I can change my beliefs. And the sad reality is that people are more prone to change their beliefs and justify their actions. Justification is just a form of relieving cognitive dissonance. You do something, but you justify it in your own mind to relieve that pain, that stress that you've created by doing something that is not congruent with your beliefs or your soul, right? So what are some of the stories that adjusters have to make up for themselves in order to operate and live without painful cognitive dissonance their entire day and their entire life? Well, they make up the story of every contractor is crooked. Every contractor is making buco bucks, and it's my job to bring them in and keep them in line. Every insured is trying to cash in on every claim, and it's my job to keep them in line. Right? That tells a very different story, right? That allows me to do things that I wouldn't ordinarily do as a fair human. Let me tell you a quick story about fairness. Fairness is so integral to the human experience that we can feel it before we can understand it. We can feel it before we can see it. So there's an experiment. Some scientists, it sure is famous, and I'm sure there's books written about it, but there's two monkeys. You put two monkeys in a cage, all right? And there's a little slot at the bottom, and they feed them stuff. Two monkeys can see each other. The cages are open, but they can't get to each other. So they take two trays, put a sliver of cucumber in both the trays. Monkeys go down, cucumber. Yeah, I'm digging cucumber. They do it again. They do 4 cucumbers in each tray. Oh man, that's great. That's awesome. Cucumbers. The monkeys are happy, right? They're cool. Then they switch out one of the trays with grapes. They put the grapes in one tray and they put the cucumber in the other. And this monkey's like, yeah, I'm eating the grapes. This monkey starts to lose his freaking mind. He kicks the cucumbers out. He's shaking on the bars and he's screaming at the top of his lungs. This is one brief instance. This is 10 seconds of unfairness, but a primate understands that a cucumber sucks compared to a grape. And his buddy was getting grapes, so he needs grapes too, because that's fair. That's an illustration of how fundamental fairness is to us as a species. And we got to know that when adjusters come into this world, they got to see the unfairness. And that cognitive dissonance builds up and builds up and builds up. And that's when the justification comes. And so that's why they do what they do. I'm reading a different book right here called Why We Did It. Tim Miller. Great book so far. Talks about how a gay man from San Francisco could become one of the biggest proponents for Donald Trump in the lead up to his presidency, right? It doesn't make sense on the surface. So this entire book is about justification and cognitive dissonance. It's amazing. But, you like Trump, hate Trump, whatever, the fact that he got elected, but with the help of people that he was obviously so blatantly, diabolically opposed to, philosophically, it's telling. It's telling about what we do. Anyway, recommend that book, Why We Did It. But why do we do it? Why do we persist in these games, in this environment where we have to shave parts of our humanity off to fit certain situations? The fundamental belief, I think, in this group and the founding of this group was, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to do good work for good people for a fair wage. That is it. And when the adjuster and the carrier and all these other outside forces come in to conspire against my client and me, we're going to fight against that. We're going to say no, and we're going to stand up. So there, soapbox done. And I did it in less than 20 minutes. I love it. Miss Tapson, how are you today? Tapson?
Tapson, not too bad. How about you?
I'm doing well. Got my speech out of the way today.
Yeah, I haven't joined one of these before, but I've watched a couple of them in after the fact. So saw that, nice. Hey, I actually didn't miss it today. So I thought I'd drop in and say hi to people. So
good deal. What part of the country are you in?
I currently live in Arkansas.
Okay.
Work is in the greater Chicago area.
Okay. Say that again?
I work remotely.
Oh, okay. What do? You write estimates? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a restoration coordinator. So I do file reviews for a franchise that go through TPA programs, make sure that they're all following the rules, and I write the estimates. So.
Those rules are written down, aren't they?
Those ones are written down. I was laughing when you said that you don't know the policy rules, and I'm like, well, I know a lot of them.
Yeah, so, but that's not the policy rules.
No, it's not.
That's the TPA rules.
And I'm one of those people who really take it as a fun thing to do and try to get around them as much as I can.
Because as long as you're enjoying the game, yes.
I do, but I get really irritated and some of it's really frustrating because some of the really silly, super easy answers that should not be difficult battles, sometimes it's not worth your time for the battle, but you have to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. This is a game of attrition, a war of attrition. And they are banking on us that we will just at a certain point throw our hands up and say, okay, I'll take it. It's not worth fighting for that other 5%. Not worth fighting.
To me, say, how much is your time arguing worth? Is it going to cost us more for you arguing that than it is? Yep. And I'm like, I don't care. You know,
but they do.
And Joe, I'm buddies with Joe.
Okay.
He'll attest to this. Say how crazy he'll see me online at weird hours, and I'll see him online at weird hours. And so if you work salary and you're only supposed to work so many hours, but you know, you just keep working because the work has to get done. And sometimes insurance stuff, I'll be like frantically typing away a response letter, a rebuttal letter, why you won't pay. Here's my justifications why you will.
Let me clarify real quick here. A Thea response letter is a Thea response book, because she will literally do like a 12-page response for literally because the paint, she wants 2 coats of paint. It'll be like a 3-page response at why she's right and to kiss her ass. Like, it's hilarious.
Resources, and I will bury them. I mean, basically they're going to give up because I have more ammo than they do.
Good. How many different TPAs are you working with?
I work for a ServPro, so the only one we don't work with would be the Allstate program through ServPro. They don't use Code Blue, so I'm not using that. But all the national accounts programs that ServPro has, other than Allstate, that's the only one we opted out of. So
okay, I had a ServPro guy on the horn.
Alacrity.
Okay. Yeah. So are you doing Symbility as well?
No, we luckily don't have that have Symbility as a requirement right now, but I see that in the future. I've had some reviews come back where they take my estimates and they write it in Symbility, and I took theirs and never even seeing Symbility before. I wrote out one of the rooms and saw that if I were writing it in Symbility, it would be even higher than Xactimate. And I started laughing and I said, no, I'm just going to keep it in Xactimate unless you want your bill to go up. But I'm doing the HAG training, and there's some Symbility training in that. And when I get that completed, I'll probably be able to do both.
Interesting. You know, if we as an industry could come together and just say no to Symbility, Symbility would go away. But we somehow can't do that. And part of my reason for going to RIA next week is to kind of take the pulse and see where folks are.
I came in late and I don't know what you're up to.
A lot of things. I'm a public adjuster here in Oregon, Washington. My Florida license just expired, but I've got a Maryland one. But the main thing I do is I run a team of Xactimate folks. So contractors across the country send us their info, and we take their scopes and pictures and turn them into money for them and turn it back to them. So that's the main thing. But I do some coaching on the side, and that's where this ServPro guy got a hold of me last week. Was it this week? Last week? I forget. And they're not on programs, they're on the rebuild side. Okay. And he was still saying that they don't have a lot of leeway, right? Because corporate pushes down so hard on you will follow these guidelines. He can't change his pricing. And pricing is it's one of my pet projects. I want us to all to be able to change pricing. Absolutely. So what do your guys say about that?
So we run into the same thing, but I mean, I will talk to the adjuster myself if I know that there's a particular job that we have to change pricing on. I've got one right now where, believe it or not, they've got insulation behind layers of chicken wire, and it's taking about 6 times as long as it should just to pull the insulation down. And I need to change the yields on that. And I'm like, what I'm going to do, I give the adjuster a choice. I say the Xactimate component list says that it should take this many labor hours. However, it actually took us this. I can either add the additional labor hours in, or I can adjust the yield on the line item to account for those extra ones. Which way would you prefer me to do it? And then the adjuster tells me how to bill for the extra time that ServPro rules with the national accounts don't allow. And I put, the adjuster approved this. If I want to do specialty items that aren't part of our thing because it's part of good business practices or it's the best way to do things,
Right.
the adjuster approved this. So 2 coats of paint, Joe will laugh at that, but 2 coats of paint is something that comes up all the time in the reconstruction program there that they don't allow without justification. And if you have justification, I've got F9 notes and screenshots from the Painters Guild that say that you from manufacturers say you need 2 coats of paint. I throw that in there. I get it passed all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
So you just need those magic words. The adjuster approved this line item.
Well, what you need is Thea.
Yeah.
Is it Thea or Thea? Thea?
Thea.
Thea, I'm sorry. Everyone needs a full-time Thea. And that is not an inexpensive proposition when you're talking about 55,000 restorers across the country. But that's what it takes to play the game, a full-time person to play the game. And you can win, but are you really winning? Right?
No, because I think that it's a waste of my boss's time and money to pay for someone like me to do the job I do.
To go get the money that you're already entitled to.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
You could ask my boss all the time. I think that I'm going to put myself out of business. If I do my job right, I put myself out of business where you don't need me anymore. Because number one, the documentation of the file is going to be correct because the people in the field know how to do it properly. Number two, all of the billing is going to be correct because it's going to be documented first and go through. Number three, if I can help in any way I can, the adjusters and the pricing and national accounts, and I'm kind of a little bit of a shit disturber at ServPro corporate. They all know.
Good.
But yeah, so I'm starting to, try and make change from within. And if you can put me out of business, then I'll win. That's my win.
Yeah.
That's my.
I love that. I love that. You know how many times I've said that? My hope and dream is that I do not need to exist anymore in my current function. Yeah, I would love them to make PAs irrelevant. I would love them to make all this stuff that we have to do to play the game irrelevant. Even Xactimate, it's what I do to make a living. If Xactimate went away because there was a more fair and equitable way to do this, I would be happy. I'd be like, fine, I'm going back to school. I'll be an engineer. I'll do whatever else. I don't have to do Xactimate anymore. But the fact remains, there's a huge need for what you and I do. There's a huge, unsatiable need.
I'm new to this industry and I've hung out in Restoration Rebels and listened to people like you and listened to people like Joe. And I've learned enough in the past 2 years since I've been doing this that they consider me an expert. I am not an expert. I'm a newbie. And I'm sorry, but if they consider me an expert, then there's just a real lack of understanding of this field at a very basic level for people who've been doing it longer than I have. So yeah, the education needs to get out there. You always are on about how telling the contractors that they need to get off the program work and things like that. But I really think that the people who are on it need to learn how to write the job properly and defend it, even within that, because that's an important part of the puzzle to killing the program from within. To
be more profitable, for sure. Because if you do, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Once you master the game, they're going to find a way to change the rules. They're going to move the goalpost again. But until that happens, yeah, you should, because it's the profitability that drives this whole thing. And if you take the profitability out, when I say profitability, I mean for them, for the carrier. The carrier's profit is the only reason they use TPAs. Because you use a TPA, your claim severity drops by 30% right out the gate, period, end of story. Well, where do they get that 30% from? They take it from folks like you and I. They take it from contractors. They take it from insureds. So if we find a way to claw and fight and dig our way back and get that 30% back, the relevance in value prop for the TPA would go away. The problem is doing that on a concerted level, organized across this industry of 220 billion. Oh.
The fun thing is that when you are kind of not an expert, even if people think that you're good at your job, every time you open up a file, because a file reviewer asks a question, you find additional line items.
Right?
I'm like, bring it on. I will raise my price. Like, oh, you found this mistake. Oh, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. That's a legitimate error. I'll pull it out. But hey, I missed this. So I'm throwing that back in because here's the documentation that it was done, and I'll throw it back in. And I just, that's a fun game too.
If you're going to make me open my file and take another look, I'm going to take another look. And there's nothing about this process that says it can only go one way. Absolutely. You know how many times I've done a file review and it said, oh, you can, okay, you're right. You can have your $200, but guess what? I've just found 2,000.
That's nice.
And
then they start backpedaling. Oh, I mean, no, the check goes out tomorrow. Bye. You know, and they just give it up.
Well,
So
Andy, I'll also chime in.
Do you guys get told that your estimates are ridiculous and that they've never seen estimates like yours and things like that?
Oh yeah. Oh man, we get mother effered up and down. We are the scourge. We're stealing lollipops from babies. Yeah, we are.
That's
we are
right,
evil.
Patty.
So I've asked Joe to reach out to one of our customers who's not getting paid. He's having a problem with Big Red.
Okay.
From an estimate that I wrote probably almost a year ago, and I can guarantee you I didn't know now like then what I know now. And if he writes, he'll easily add another 10 grand to mine. And
oh, easily.
That's just easy. And then if he wants to try at it, he's gonna, do all the things like what you do, Andy, and do all the public adjusting things. Oh, you didn't bill for ALE. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you didn't do that. You didn't
do supervision. You didn't do overhead and profit. No.
Which we didn't do because this is a program job and we don't bill that. But that's something that could possibly be argued from another person writing it, that this is what would be reasonable. But yeah, it's fun to hear that when they come back and they're going to get a bigger bill in the end.
And that's the thing. Well, that's the thing is like Theo will attest to this here. Like I'm a big proponent, like there's tons of classes people take out there to learn how to use Xactimate, but there's not a lot of classes that people take to learn how to estimate within Xactimate. Well, like, I mean,
right.
Me and Thea were reviewing a file from one of her previous construction people before, and something simple like drywall patch J to tape existing drywall to new drywall.
Okay.
They were leaving it off the line items all day long. And it was, what was it? It was like $300 or $400. It was like $100 for drywall in the estimate. And the patch J added what, like an extra like $200 or $300 to the estimate?
I don't remember what it was, but he went through and he's like, they missed this and they missed that. And he's like 3 rooms in. And I'm like, look at the rooms there are. You're gonna add that just on one line item. You're gonna add
easily.
like $100 in one floor, just on one line item.
Yep.
And it is.
That's where paying for a third party estimate review on larger jobs makes a whole lot of sense.
It is. It's one of those biggest issues is the TPAs have it in their favor for two to 3 reasons. One, most people that are on TPAs, unless they're franchises like Surf Pro and Service Master stuff, they're little guys who are, they're getting into the industry, so they don't have experience as it is. So they don't realize, one, they don't know how to estimate. They don't know how to estimate correctly. They don't know how to justify it. They're scared to use F9 notes, or they're scared to try to bypass the TPA and call the adjusters. And a lot of the times, I mean, unless you're on a cat duty where you have these, when the hurricane hit, I was in the adjuster Facebook group. There's hundreds of people who literally had just gotten their license like 2 days after the hurricane happened, going out trying to be adjusters on these jobs. And people, even Thea with only 2-year experience, has more experience than most of the adjusters she's going to talk to. And they are taught, hey, these are the rules. They're hard. These are what you got to follow. And they don't understand you can change the rules if there's a valid reason for it. But, it is one of the biggest issues. It's why, Thea sends me estimates all the time just for me to review over and just say, hey, here's a couple of hints on things you missed and all, is because it is like when you're doing construction, you can't just be a jack of all trades, master of none. You have to be pretty much a master of all trades to understand all the parts of doing drywall work. Understanding, you only use ready for paint if you're doing a small patch job. If you're doing flood cuts, or if you're doing full drywall sheets, you need to use, bare minimum, ready for texture, smooth skim coat texturing on it, and add your patch J in where need be.
Well, keep in mind that Xactimate kind of closed a little bit of a loophole on the patch J. So if you're doing 2 foot repairs, linear foot, 2 foot or 4 foot repairs,
there's drywall LF.
That's already included.
Well, there's DRY
So I don't know if
LF.
you know this one on your drywall, DRY WDR. Have you seen that yet? So that's
detach
your
and reset?
window casing. That's going to be your window and door casing openings. I'm using that. I'm getting paid on it. It adds in.
Oh.
Yeah. It's never been in Xactimate ever. I've always added extra labor all these years, and now they have it in there. And it pays.
I'm trying to open Xactimate now.
Yeah, it's DRY WDR, and it's going to be 6-inch or greater than 6-inch. So under
6-inch, meaning that gap between the frame and where the drywall starts.
It's like where
so
if you have a missing
where
wall.
your window is set, where you got your window set, and you have drywall cased openings.
Okay.
So it covers that drywall, labor, corner bead, and texture, etc. work on those cased openings. I've always added additional labor. I argue with adjusters all the time about this. That 4-inch strip of drywall is not covered.
Well, and a lot of people, they'll just do a missing wall.
You said it was, hold on a second. Where's my, God damn it. There. You said
DRY, WDR.
Drywall window return. Oh, man. Oh, you know why I'm groaning? You know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of this I could have used over my career.
They just put it in a couple months ago.
I would say I would want to use that in buildings that have that drywall return at the baseboard instead of an actual baseboard. Some of those really modern.
Yep.
Well, you can do the 4-inch strip for that too.
So this is linear foot. Let me see if I can drop it into this opening, which is a boom. And let's drop it into that opening. And where's a window? Here's another window. Or that opening. All right, let's see how that did. Look at that.
Yeah, so go in and read what it is. It'll help. So I'm using that on my all drywall cased openings.
Drywall, metal corner bead, joint texture compound, joint tape, screws, and installation labor. Labor cost to remove 5/8 drywall. And well, okay, so is it always 5/8?
Close enough to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Why split hairs? Including corner bead and discard. Heavy or complex texturing or texture blending beyond the excludes heavy. Okay, well, let's do. I wonder if Actual Insights found this. That's huge.
Do the less than 6. So you're at greater than 6. There you are.
Okay. Oh, it changes to 1/2 inch. There you go. So I guess the thicker up to 6-inch. Okay, that makes sense. Man, that is that's $45 an opening.
Right?
$51 an opening, 36
So
bucks.
you're always
an
wondering
opening.
why our drywall numbers are low. I mean, my drywall numbers are always low. According to what my drywallers want. So my project managers come to me, they go, dude, man, drywall numbers are low. How can you get them up? Well, I've added in that 4-inch strip. I was using that forever, and debating with adjusters.
Yep.
So this is not included. That is not included. It covers
So-
the wall surface. So when you click on a wall surface, it's not covering that 4-inch wall opening.
Well, and the problem that a lot of people do is they'll do a missing wall and they'll set the missing wall with a thickness of 0 inches, but
Mm,
they actually have, like a missing wall that has a 4-inch, it's a 4-inch opening. And
that
they're
adds
not-
up.
that adds up. Like, I mean, you guys, everybody should be like, just like when you always check your wall thickness to make sure they are actually 2x4s and it's not a stick built 2x2 house, or, they're 6-inch wide frame, framing, you make sure your openings are set to the right thickness, because a lot of people will just delete the wall, missing wall, there we go, and not realize, oh, well, there's a 4-inch, 4 inches by 20-foot long section of drywall that's not being accounted for now because I have it set to 0 thickness.
Well, it's just like that bat insulation. The bat insulation up to 6-inch or 4-inch. Does anybody use those?
Never.
I use it all the time. It pays way better. Why don't you pull that
What do you-
one up?
What do you mean,
Andrew?
wall insulation?
Yes. Go INS.
Hold on, I
BT.
gotta open that estimate again. Let's open this. Now I can share it. Okay.
So INS. Just type it in that line right there. BTLF6.
That
That's
insulation
for-
replacement per linear foot. So this is for your flood
That's-
cuts.
Well, I thought that line item was more for like the little tiny gaps between, the stud and the
Mm-mm.
framing for the window that you got to
Mm-mm.
tighten
It
that
says up
insulation
to
into.
Nope.
2 foot tall. So if you read the line item,
This is your flood
drop
cuts.
it in there with your with your drywall removal.
Let's
it
do a
pays
6-inch
pretty well.
wall. Let's
Now,
do perimeter of that floor. Go to laundry room.
Yeah, just do PF. Now go into that and go INS bat insulation PF times 2 and see what your costs come up to.
Is that so? BTF 4?
BT6.
Oh, 6.
Yeah. And perimeter floor times 2. Let's make sure this one is, whoop, 2 foot tall. Okay. Perimeter floor times 2.
So now they have one for 4 foot,
Man,
up to 4 foot. Now you gotta remember up to 4 foot.
look at that.
Remember
It's
this.
70. It's $70.
So now on top of that, in some areas like where I'm at, even though you have paper-faced insulation, you still have to have a vapor barrier on there.
Yeah. You
A
got to do
plastic-
your,
Yep.
on the insulation or on the
Oh,
sheathing?
even if you have yes, even if you have a paper face, you still have to have a vapor barrier built in.
On the
Certain,
inside
certain
or outside?
areas, certain cities up in our area require that.
Okay, yeah, and Oregon, I think, is backed off of that because we were molding too many houses out.
Yeah, it's still there. So now that Miss Queen or INS, and then so now there's click on your price list. There's a one for caulking and tape. There's you were right there. Go back.
Go down to
where
the
you're at.
V's.
There's going to be caulk and tape. See it?
The very bottom one.
VISTC.
Oh, what is
Okay.
what? What is
Yeah.
that?
Click OK. So if you
Now
got
I'm
a basement,
embarrassed.
there you go. Look at that.
Ooh,
Look what it
So
pays.
this-
It pays
the-
better.
so wait a minute.
Put that on the ceiling.
Seam taping. $0.76, but this is an additional to. Let's see what it says.
It adds a little bit.
Seam tape. Installation labor.
So,
Huh.
for example, the city of McCall, Idaho, required that you had to have that additional vapor barrier because of the just the cold temperatures, the additional moisture, the heat thaw issues they were having.
Right.
It adds a little bit, not a lot, but I'm telling you, every dime and dollar that we need to grab, it makes a difference.
Now
Well, you're
change
looking
all
at
those to
seven-
DRY trade.
You're looking
Because
at
you don't-
yeah, because the insulating. Well, which is more? Let's see. Um,
Because the drywaller is usually going to be the one that puts the insulation in and then hangs your drywall.
Yeah, we always change those too, right there. I
yeah.
have those, yeah. My demo guy's not taking it out. Just
Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. INS BTLF 6, and we're gonna do PF, but we're gonna come in here and do it to DRY. Ooh. So insulation labor is cheaper than drywall labor. I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I never, unless I'm having like a company come out and do like spray foam or blown in insulation with the machines, it's always my drywaller installing my insulation. So I always change that there. And then, you still, like I also do, like I split my demos up. Like I'll do a demo pickup load, half count or whatever with the drywaller. And then I'll do another one for the painter or whatever, because they're not the same person. It's not the same day. And I mean,
now you're blowing my mind. Really? You go through, oh my God. You must have adjusters. You must have adjusters just losing their shit on you.
I'll do contents labor at drywall labor for them to move everything to the center of the room and all. And then, and then I'll do painting or content labor with a painter doing it as well, because usually you're going to move everything back. And unless, most of the time the homeowners are there. So they hang the drywall, they'll move it back about 6 inches from the wall. So the homeowner can live there still because they're not on ALE. And then the painter's got to move it again. Like
you're a goddamn genius, Gump.
So
you got to think of all that shit.
This.
Joe, have I told you yet today how beautiful you are?
Hey, Joe, let me ask you this. Now, are you guys having your guys put up containment on every drywall job?
Depends on the job. Overall, I mean, like if we're only doing like the living room, yeah, I'll put containment up. I'll do WTR barrier and then change it to a drywall labor with and all, or because
is it true containment with negative air or no?
No, it doesn't say it has to be negative air.
It doesn't.
The difference between
okay,
the
hold
demo.
on.
So there's demo masking, which is like 4 mil plastic. WTR barrier is 6 mil plastic. That's the only difference between the line items really is the thickness of the plastic.
So I'm wondering if anybody's had any experience yet with the silica OSHA situation.
Define your terms.
Okay, so silica is the new asbestos.
Sure. Yeah.
Silica is inside of drywall dust, gypsum. Everybody's like, no, it's not. Absolutely is, because
yes, it is
coming out of the same area. And so that stuff is in the air being sanded out. And so we're exposing our clients to it. If I can get my guys to do it, I'm making a, saying, hey, please put up the vapor barrier or, our containment and put the air scrubber on it using the silica. And it just makes for a cleaner job.
Yeah, I think I try to put a neg air on every single job, up until a certain point, right? All the dusty drywall stuff, there should be an air scrubber running 24/7. And there's NIOSH. It's not just silica. It's NIOSH recommends that just for dust, let alone silica.
Yeah, I'll do an air scrubber for while they're, for the period while the drywall is being sanded and mudded. And then I'll usually I might not do a containment barrier, but I'll throw an air scrubber on for 48 hours while the painters are painting, because that shit smells like wet paint smells like crap and makes people sick. Like I'll negative air, throw it in and have it blast out the window, because the negative air line item, it says a negative air or HEPA filtration system. It's so if you just take an air mover and you stick it out the goddamn window and it's creating negative pressure, that's a negative air fan. That's literally it's splitting hairs here, but technically you're using it. I mean, we used to have OSHA, or not OSHA, when Roto-Rooter, we had machines that were just negative air for crawl spaces. There was no filters on it. It was just designed to suck air out into, push air
Negative
into the crawl space.
air. The
I think
definition of a negative air
book
machine.
I sent Joe was on this topic.
Look
Because
at this.
what happened that we didn't have negative air. We were using it just as an air scrubber, and I had to explain to the adjuster that it does not have to be under negative containment, that it wasn't being used that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think my very first book, and that was also my very first win with an adjuster, but it was my first battle too. So
Yeah,
But-
this is what NIOSH says about it. NIOSH says
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. I had an email yesterday come from Aramsco, their training department, and they're putting on with ehsinc.org webinar on October the 6th, 5th or 6th, with regards to the silica and NFPA 70E for the arc welding, the arc incidents. But there's that one's coming up. It's free. If you want to join, you could probably go to aramsco.com and register. I always join all these webinars. I don't get to see them all the time, but sometimes they will send you the link to watch it after, and you can go through and see what's new with OSHA requirements and silica, and
Okay.
this also NFPA 70E. So
nice. NFPA is
that's the arc incidents. I don't know a lot. It's an electrical code for if you get attacked with some kind of electrical problem. I'm sorry, I got a phone call I got to take.
okay. Okay. Yeah,
But,
so
I mean,
I put this in the F9 notes, and it's directly off of NIOSH's website, and you can get it at claimsdelegates.com/NIOSH_AFD. You use local exhaust ventilation with HEPA filtration where dust generation is anticipated. If local exhaust is not feasible, portable air cleaning devices could be used. That's it. I mean, it's right there. We got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I mean, there's no labor involved in, the air scrubber, so it's not a big deal. But, like that's the thing. A lot of people, like I said, I mean, a lot of people will go to classes and learn how to use Xactimate, how to sketch it in and set up a file and everything. But they don't, a lot of the classes I've ever seen or attended or talked to people attending, they don't talk about like the right way to use the line items or how to, the line items are supposed to be used. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls in our industry is that there's no governing body like the IRCRC that oversees, here's how here's things that you have to estimate for. And it's because obviously every program's different, but
no, I think it's because people are scared. I think it's people are scared of racketeering. They're scared of price fixing. They're scared of being accused of doing anything close to anti-competitive behavior.
I will 100% agree with there, because I mean, on my estimates, unless I am genuinely hiring a demo crew, a group of guys just come out there and just bash the shit out of the house, I will never ever have DMO labor on my estimate. It's always going to be, the drywaller or the water restoration guys, so like, and I mean, like, put it on your estimate real quick, Andy, put in their demo pickup. And, let's just say that, it's just a little bit of drywall.
Let's find it. Hold on. Let me go back. Here we go. Okay. Pull my keyboard back. DMO PU. Okay.
Now let's just, now the line item is for per half ton of waste, regardless of it being a pickup truck, it's a half ton of waste. So let's just say your drywaller, he's going to make a quarter ton, right? So 0.25. At default, how much is a point?
But there's a minimum. I mean, I know if I take a load to the dump right now, if it's under whatever, if it's under something, it's $12 flat. So you can't go too low. Otherwise, you're not going to pass them a minimum.
Okay. I mean, I personally don't go below half ton. I always count it as half.
I never use this line item for less than one. Ever. Because the dump, I mean, because that's inclusive of labor to drive there and back. I mean, $222 is not a lot of money. Depending on how far away your dump is.
Now let's just say that the drywaller is the one that has to say it's the drywaller doing it. Look at the price difference between your demo guys going to the dump and the drywaller having to take his trash to the dump.
296 and
40
222.
extra.
Yes, sir.
Do it as a painter. I mean,
Yes, sir.
I
I could
mean-
get behind that. I could justify that all day long.
because
What do you think,
it's
Mitch?
done on it's done on a different day.
Well,
It's
I
done
think
at
that
a
was a
different
great
time.
one. I do have a photo I can share with you if you're. Let me share the screen for a minute.
Paints even more. Okay, yeah. Let me.
I did send this to an adjuster, and let's see here.
Hold on. Who can share? Yeah, you can share.
All right, and here we are. There's the calculations, guys. Did it not come up?
I see it over
Yeah.
on my other screen.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's good. I've seen a
I'll
different one,
send
but
that
yes.
to you if you want. There you go. It's your half a pickup.
Finally found that half truck.
Yeah, so I share that. It's like, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's half full. They still get charged.
Yeah.
They don't get, per trip.
It's
labor,
like a minimum. It's really just like a minimum.
Yeah, it's just, that's what it is.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, literally, like if you're not, if you do con labor, how many times does the painter or a drywaller have to move the stuff around and cover it in plastic? Well, that's labor. And if you do, con labor, it's just general labor. It's like 30, 40 bucks an hour.
Yep.
If you do set it at demo or set it at the painter doing it, you're going to get, and that's why a lot of people complain and bitch and say, Xactimate's not a good program. They don't give you enough money for drywall. It's because you're not using all the line
Not
items.
using it right.
The way you're not
Right.
using it right, or you're not adding in the patch J. You're not doing ready for texture and then smooth. If your wall is a smooth, no texture wall, you should not be using DRY half-inch ready for paint. That specific line item is designed if you're doing a small, 2 foot by 2 foot drywall patch. You should be doing drywall half-inch negative ready for texture, and then your patch J if required, and then DRY text plus, a smooth skim coat
Mm-hmm.
on the drywall. And you will
You gotta skim it every time.
You will literally make hundreds of dollars more on the estimate, and
Per
it will
room.
pay for the drywaller. I mean, people who don't, that's one of the biggest things I always hear people say is there's not enough money for drywall and Xactimate. We have to make our money up on the electrical or the plumbing.
That's a sad thing is folks don't understand that they don't have to make it up on another trade. There's no good reason to lose money on any trade. If you're not making money in that trade, stop and figure it out. Don't just say, hey, we're going to give them that one. We'll make it up on the next one. No. If your drywall is costing you more consistently than what you can estimate and Xactimate, A, what Joe just said, you're doing it wrong. But B, take their bid and put it in. At least you get 10 and 10 on it. At least you're not losing money on that trade. You're not making any money on it, 16% gross profit, but at least you're not losing money. So if in any trade, if you're losing money, just get a sub bid and do it, and then learn how to estimate it properly, because there is no trade I can't estimate profitably and sub it out and make great margins. That's just the reality of it.
Even on electrical or plumbing, like I'm not a great electrical or plumber. I don't know all the aspects of it, but usually I get close enough that even when I have to submit the plumbing bid item, it's usually not going to be off by more than 10, 15%. And it's easy to get passed through because I properly estimated, here's the price. True price is actually, 20% more. That's a lot better than just saying, we'll see bid item, we'll leave it blank for the time being. And it's a lot better than, not
because it doesn't help
trying your
anybody.
best.
It doesn't help anybody. Putting a bookmark in it, a placeholder, doesn't help anybody. You want to give as much information, as much pricing information right up front. That way you get paid sooner. The more open items or to be determined items, that just means you're not going to see that money for 6 months. That's just how long it's going to take. So, all right, we're 10 minutes past. Rich, good to see you, man. You didn't get to say anything. You want to say hi to all your raving fans right now? Yay! No, you got to unmute yourself first. Those are the rules. Got to unmute first. That's just how we roll. All right, there you go.
I'm Rich from MCC Services. Sorry, I was working when the meeting started. I actually have Notch Drywall report. I'm just trying to figure out how I can share it with everyone.
Oh, a NIOSH report, really?
Yep, from December of 1993.
Wow. I remember where I was in 93. I was a lot younger.
I was young back then. But I bet it was one of several bars that I
Still cruising the junior high parking lot. That's what it was.
Uh-huh.
I was born in 93.
Get out of here, you puppy. Oh my
that was the
God.
year I got a DWI, but I'm not sure.
I graduated high school in 1993.
Wow. I was yarding logs in Libby, Montana.
Oh, I hate time. Time is such a
It's gonna
Freaking-
happen. Get ready.
oh.
I can
she
see her,
is-
doing a little manscaped beard dyeing job there.
If anyone would like to see this report,
Yeah.
Why
I'm
do you
real-
why don't you drop it in the group? Drop it in the group
how do I
and
drop it?
well, upload it into files. You
Oh,
can
easy
instead
enough. Easy
of
enough. I'll
making
put
a
it in
post,
Rebel.
you just upload it into files. So
All
we're
right.
gonna go. Rich, good to see you, brother. Good to see everyone
Yeah,
else.
Have a good day, everyone.
This will
Bye,
be
guys.
replayed on Claims Delegates YouTube channel. And I think it's going to go on. There's a podcast solely for the Restoration Rebel roundtables. So if you're a podcast person, go look those up if you're so inclined. So peace, guys. We'll see you.
Have a good day, everyone.